Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on a new edition of our 10 Weather Impact Show. I'm meteorologist Aaron White.
I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens. It's been a little bit of a stormy past 12 hours here.
Yeah.
Got a little loud last night.
Yeah, the lightning was so vivid across central Ohio.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to watch those storms rolling in. I know there were a couple flash flood warnings with some of the heavier rainfall to the south and west, closer to Cincinnati yesterday evening, but still some wild storms that we had here in the last 12 hours.
I was going to say, and the cloud cover stuck around at least for the first half of the day today, so it's been a little bit, at least it started a little bit gloomy out there.
Yeah, a few peaks of sunshine here, still getting that a little bit here this afternoon, and we're going to be watching for some more showers, maybe a few thunderstorms developing here across the area. So let's go ahead and dive into the forecast as we are talking about that chance for a couple showers, maybe a rumble of thunder here this afternoon, and we'll keep that in the forecast going into the day tomorrow. But it does look like chances are starting to diminish a little bit. We got a lot of that activity here again yesterday evening, last night into early this morning. Still seeing that cloud cover, and that's going to continue here for at least the next couple of hours. A few peaks of sunshine, and then again watching that chance for a few more showers and storms. And one of the reasons why we are tracking more activity, of course, is because we have more humidity around, and that actually was one of the reasons why we saw so much vivid lightning with the thunderstorms. There's enough humidity, just a lot of static in the atmosphere to allow for so much lightning to happen. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple more storms producing quite a bit of lightning here this afternoon and evening because we have that higher humidity. Now, it will take a little dip as we get into the end of the week and towards the weekend. It does rise here as we go into our Sunday. So still seeing the humidity around, and we are seeing more heat building back in as we head into the weekend. Highs likely back in the lower 90s, but then you'll notice here as we head into next week, we actually see a dip in the overall dew point temperature, and we're also going to see a dip in our actual temperature. So a nice cool down is on the way here as we look ahead to the early to more so maybe the middle part of next week. But as we talk about what's happened here in the last 12 hours, again, we've still had some of the cloud cover here this morning into early this afternoon, but there's all the rain. There's those thunderstorms that rolled through the area, producing all that vivid lightning, some heavy downpours of rain as well. That's cleared out, but as we go through the hour-by-hour forecast here this afternoon, we are still, again, tracking the chance for some scattered showers and storms developing here over really the next couple of hours here as we head towards 4 p.m. Still tracking scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms that could produce some heavy downpours here, even through about 8 o'clock this evening, and then things really start to wane as we head into tonight. But as we are looking at that potential for rain, and if we get some rain like we had last night into this morning, more rain this evening, that could lead to the ground being saturated enough that we get some fog developing here across central Ohio. So something to keep in mind for tomorrow morning. Don't be surprised if you encounter some areas of patchy fog that could be dropping visibility down to near or even under a quarter mile. So maybe give yourself a few extra minutes as you're heading out the door tomorrow morning, as we are tracking that potential for some fog. And then that'll clear out. We'll get some sunshine. Could see a pop-up shower tomorrow afternoon, but chances are lower than they were looking the last couple of days, down to about 20% here for our Thursday. So maybe 1 or 2 showers, but most of central and southern Ohio going to stay dry here for your Thursday. But as we look at our forecast for potential rainfall here over the next 24 hours, if we get some of those scattered showers and storms developing here, especially near and east of I-71, we could see some heavy downpours. Wouldn't be surprised to see if we get a couple places that quickly pick up maybe an inch of rainfall, but a lot of us are going to dodge the rain here over the course of today and tomorrow. And then that all clears out. We're right back into the heat as we head into our Friday, and more so Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But then we're actually going to see a cold front kicking in from the north, and that's going to bring some nice cooler temperatures, lower humidity as we look ahead to Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We could be talking about highs back in the lower 80s, possibly even upper 70s, with overnight lows back into the upper 50s and lower 60s. So some relief is on the way. Just got to get through some more of the heat here over the course of the extended forecast. For today, 85 is the high temperature. Scattered showers and a few storms this afternoon and evening. We'll see another chance here on Thursday, down to 20%. So again, most likely will stay partly cloudy as we go through our Thursday. 86 for a high, up to 87 here on Friday. More sunshine in the forecast through the weekend. But there's the heat. Those temperatures back to the lower 90s here for Saturday, Sunday, possibly even into our Monday. And then we are tracking the chance for a few thunderstorms here as we go into Tuesday as that cold front is arriving. And then after that, that's going to knock down our temperatures back into the mid 80s. And then, Michael, I think by Wednesday, we're likely looking at upper 70s and lower 80s.
So getting
nice relief.
Back.
Yeah,
some
nice
relief in there.
Yeah, finally nice to see that. We had that one weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before, where it was nice upper 70s. It was nice relief from the heat. So we'll get that again.
Nice. I mean, we've kind of settled into this pretty toasty pattern once again, and it's definitely been uncomfortable. It's nice to see that we can get back to some of that relief.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out this weekend with, the heat, and likely going to see more of that humidity, I think, on Sunday. So wouldn't be surprised if we have to see maybe 1, maybe 2 more days where we have that heat index value up into the mid to upper 90s.
Yeah.
It is still summertime. It's still August, of course, so we still got to get through some of that. But hey, at least we got something to look forward to in the forecast.
Yeah, and I think this weekend probably going to feel a little bit hotter than last weekend because we were in the 90s last weekend, but it wasn't that humid.
No, it wasn't.
Kind of the opposite this time.
Yeah, surprising that, we had a weekend where we had the heat and didn't actually have that humidity.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't happen a lot in summer in Ohio where we actually have lower humidity but still get the heat. So it was better, but this weekend, maybe not so much.
Definitely not so much. And coming with that humidity, it's also came with some storms, and we turn now to some developing news we're following here at 10 TV. Overnight, a lightning strike may have caused a fire in the Polaris area. Columbus fire officials tell us that this happened at the Avenue Apartments at Polaris around 1 this morning. We were told that 3 firefighters were taken to the hospital as a precaution because of overexertion. About 50 people are displaced, but thankfully no one was hurt.
Yeah, and just to the south, there's actually intense flooding going on in Tennessee. So check out this video from Chattanooga. The city actually received more than 6 inches of rain in a single day. Just incredible amounts.
Crazy.
And that's the second wettest day on record. Led to flash flooding in the area, and the heaviest rain has moved out, but more storms that could lead to additional flooding are expected here today.
Yeah, unfortunately, with that flooding going on down there. And speaking of flooding, far to our northwest, for the 3rd year in a row, Juneau, Alaska is preparing for some major flooding. People in the Mendenhall Valley are asked to stay on high alert and prepare for possible evacuations this week. The water coming from the Suicide Basin above Mendenhall Lake is now at capacity. HESCO flood barriers have been placed along portions of the Mendenhall River to mitigate some of the expected flooding. That's glacier-caused flooding again. Juneau officials have also established a flood hotline and encourage people to sign up for emergency alerts. A declaration of emergency has already been declared by the governor, allowing resources to be mobilized before any potential flooding takes place.
Yeah, which is just wild to see, that happening and stuff. And I feel like this year has been really the year of flooding across the country.
A lot of moisture out there.
Talking about it so much, of course, watching what's happening in Alaska, Chattanooga. We saw the flooding, of course, in Texas, flooding just recently in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where they had just record-setting rainfall. And it's just been interesting to see how everything's been playing out. And of course, it's not just the remote areas that can deal with flooding. Urban centers have increasingly seen flooding as well, like we saw with Milwaukee. Tara Molina reports from Chicago with more on how the city is looking to gather data about these types of flood events.
Check this out. This is what these flood sensors look like. Many installed throughout the city's Chatham neighborhood, where we've told you about flooding issues for years now. When it rains in Chicago, it floods in Chatham. We've told you about issues here for years, but now brand new technology being deployed across the city with a focus here could make a big difference.
This sonar sensor here, that's how we track how far away the water is.
That's Brandon Wong with Hi-Fi, the company behind the 50 flood sensors being deployed across Chicago.
It was developed to address this big data gap in knowing where is the flooding happening, when, and how severely.
10 of them here in Chatham.
This device measures the flooding on the ground, and then through Verizon's connectivity, it links up with all the other 50 sensors that are going to be installed to help inform where to send off an alert in a given part of a neighborhood.
It's a partnership with Verizon. You're looking at video of the official launch event, bringing partners, city and state leaders together as this tech is officially deployed.
It will be a proof of concept to really show local officials, what it can do.
80% of the homes in Chatham, 80% are likely to flood over a 10-year span.
Nidra Sims-Fears leads the Greater Chatham Initiative. I've told you about their work with Argonne National Labs and the University of Chicago to address their flooding issues over the years, especially with a changing climate, bringing more extreme weather and more rain. She tells me these will make a difference.
Knowledge is power. We have limited resources, and we want the flooding monies to use to mitigate flooding to get our best bang for the buck.
Reporting in Chatham, I'm Tara Molina, CBS News Chicago Investigators.
And now it's time to get a check on the tropics. Michael, it's been starting to see a little bit more activity, and what's happening out there right now?
Yeah, those tropics out there starting to get a little bit more active this time of the year. We haven't had a hurricane yet, but now we have a storm that potentially could become our first hurricane of the year. So let's go ahead and get you guys updated on the latest with that system. That is Tropical Storm Behrens that's out in the Atlantic right now, still at a tropical storm level, but this path is expected to increase its intensity in terms of the storm over the coming days and into early next week. Again, Tropical Storm Behrens at the moment about 1,300 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands, has gusts already up to 60 miles per hour and sustained winds at 45 miles per hour. The storm's moving off toward the west into some pretty clear area. There's not a lot of development out in front of this, so it's really got the entire ocean there to itself, and it's going to take advantage of that. By Friday morning, it's expected to reach Category 1 level. That would be winds of 75 miles per hour there in the forecast. A little bit beyond that, upgrading to a Category 2. This would be by Saturday morning, just about a day between those upgrades there. Winds at that point expected to be around 100 miles per hour. And as far as the forecast goes at the moment, it does eventually take this to a Category 3 with winds approaching 120 miles per hour by early next week. Of course, by this point, keep in mind how these forecast cones work. What this is tracking is where the center of that storm could be. So this storm could be anywhere from well north of the islands there to a lot closer down to Hispaniola. So this could definitely be kind of anywhere in between this area. And of course, where the storm goes from there is still a bit of an open question. Of course, right now, this is kind of the forecast track that we're watching, but that's where the forecast ends, according to the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. So we're going to have to watch carefully to see what happens with this storm when it comes to where it gets steered. Of course, if we have more activity to the north, kind of like what's in place right now, this could steer the storm further to the south. If this becomes more of an open play field, then we could see that storm really just kind of go wherever the more prevailing winds take it as we head into next week. So this is going to be something that we'll have to watch into next week to see what areas could be under the gun for a potential tropical system. As far as other development out there right now, what you see up to the north is pretty unorganized, but there's another area of some potential organization down toward Mexico. This area up here not expected to turn into anything, but further to the south, crossing the Yucatan, this is expected to at least have a chance at some development as it gets into the Gulf over the next week or so. This would only be about 20% though, so we're not expecting much potential for development here, but of course we'll have to see again where that system travels and how it responds to those warm Gulf waters heading into next week. As far as what we're looking at from the tropical season so far, again, haven't seen a lot of storms, but we've got up to about 5 now. All of them so far have been tropical storms, and again, Behrens at the moment looking like it could be our first, well, hurricane of the year, and of course that's Aaron with an E and not 2 A's.
Yeah, a little different name there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that system evolves. It's been having a little trouble, I feel like, in the last couple of days, at least seeing that satellite picture. It really flared up when it first became a tropical storm, and then it's kind of just been having a little trouble, but I think it's going to be, of course, getting its act together, as you saw with the forecast.
It's just got so much clear water out in front of it. It's not competing
water
with anything.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been really any major storms to take that energy out of the ocean yet. So it's kind of anyone's guess as to how strong it actually becomes at the end right now.
Yeah, and just kind of seeing how it's going to, eventually turn towards the north a little bit, if it's going to continue on that western track. Even in the last couple of days, there's been a subtle shift south with the track of the system. So, yeah, definitely going to be watching that here over the next several days.
Yeah, and for sure. And remember that forecast that we said for now only goes out to Monday.
Yep.
So this is going to be something that will be in the news into next week, too.
Yeah, I'm sure whatever happens this week, and we'll be giving a lot of updates for what happens next week.
Absolutely. And now let's look at some environment news from around the nation. First up, close to home, researchers with Ohio State University's Stone Lab found freshwater jellyfish in Lake Erie. They were spotted near South Bass Island. Experts say the jellyfish are not native to the area, but they're also not an invasive species. Stone Lab researchers also note they have been around for decades, but are extremely rare. But don't be worried about getting in the water. These jellyfish, thankfully, are harmless to humans. That's good to hear.
They have stingers just like any other jellyfish, but their stingers are so small they can't pierce human skin. So if you do pick one up and you hold it in your hands, you're not going to get stung by it. If you're swimming and you get out of the water and there's one on your leg or foot or back, it's harmless.
Again, some good news there. They might be hard to see, though. You can see those photos kind of hard to see out there as well. The freshwater jellyfish range in the size from about a penny to a quarter. And researchers say they thrive in calm, warm water, which is the kind of conditions seen on Lake Erie, this time of year.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see that coming across that, especially if you don't know that that's a thing, and all of a sudden, like, is this a jellyfish?
Yeah, wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, at least they're not harmful, so good news there. And also something happening over in the Pacific. A rescued sea turtle has actually been released, and the turtle was rescued in December of 2024 on Pismo Beach, transferred to the aquarium of the Pacific, where it received care, it was recovered, and it's been released now into the open ocean. A rescued olive ridley sea turtle has been returned to the ocean after a month of care, and yeah, it's just been kind of cool to see the overall rehabilitation that the turtle has gone through from just the care crews there at the aquarium. Donors watched and celebrated from aboard a vessel that was donated by the Harbor Breeze Cruises. An open ocean release was chosen because the sea turtle species is migratory, so sometimes they travel thousands of miles from different feeding grounds and nesting sites. So nice to see the turtle recovered and now back to where it needs to be.
Yeah, always good when you can see a happy ending to a story like that. And finally, in this week's Climate Watch report, July's heat led to record demand for electricity across the U.S. Here's Jesse Mitchell reporting.
For keeping an eye on the climate, here's what you need to know. The U.S. broke its electricity demand record twice in July on 2 separate days. A combination of extreme heat and surging energy use from data centers pushed power usage to historic levels on July 28th and 29th. The spike comes as the Trump administration continues to cut federal support for renewable energy and pivot to fossil fuel projects, even as demand for power keeps climbing. With electricity demand rising, a program designed to bring clean and affordable energy to low-income families is now at risk. The EPA is considering terminating Solar for All, a $7 billion initiative aimed at helping 900,000 low-income households transition to solar power and cut their energy bills. And finally, the cost of gas could soon go up if the EPA no longer regulates carbon pollution from cars and trucks. The Trump administration says rolling back emission standards on transportation will save consumers money, but the EPA's own analysis shows rescinding fuel efficiency standards and disincentivizing EV ownership could increase gasoline demand and lead to higher prices at the pump. That's your Climate Watch. For the latest on climate and environmental news, go to cbsnews.com and follow us on Instagram at CBS News Planet. I'm Jesse Mitchell in New York.
And finally today, let's check out some new video into us here at 10 TV. First up, check this one out. This is just wild to see. This is from South Carolina, the moment a lightning bolt struck a transformer. You saw that big explosion there, setting off 2 different explosions. And this video was actually shared by the police in Mount Pleasant. And the energy company there confirmed that the incident damaged their equipment, temporarily left about 600 customers without power. Thankfully, no one was injured, but just imagine just driving down the road there and just
that one on the left, that's interesting because a lot of those bigger transformers, they're filled with an oil. It's supposed to keep things cool. You can see it blowing up something there on the right, but I think that's the oil catching on fire.
It could be,
shooting into the air there on the left.
Yeah, that's just dramatic. I mean, crazy that the dash camera got that from the police department. I could just imagine, being at the red light and all of a sudden it's like, what is going on here?
All the cool stuff you can catch on dash cam is a reason enough to have a dash cam.
Yes, definitely.
And speaking of stuff caught on camera, well, marine scientists discovered something astonishing, 30,000 feet under the sea.
Wow, okay.
Check that out. Living organisms found in the deep trenches below the ocean surface between Russia and Alaska. A geoscientist made the discovery while on a mission in a submersible where she found a series of organisms that use a chemical compound, methane, instead of sunlight to survive.
Okay.
Interesting. The various species of clam and tube worm have never been found so deep in the ocean before, and the scientist team believes that the trenches act as both a reservoir and a recycling center for methane, which again helps those creatures live. Their findings were published in the July 30th edition of the Journal of Nature.
That is just wild. I mean, you think about that just so far down, 30,000 feet down, which is just remarkable to be able to find some organism down there.
I mean, you can find life seemingly
anywhere
on Earth. So crazy you can find it down there. Maybe you can find it up in space too.
Yeah, that's somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure out there somewhere maybe.
Out there somewhere.
Well, that'll do it for us here today. So thank you again for joining us here on a new Weather Impact Show here on your Wednesday. We are talking about the heat back in the forecast. Chief Meteorologist Jerry Marks will be in later on this afternoon. So until then, you can catch more news and weather online at 10tv.com.
Have a great afternoon.